All right, so let's go into it again. All right, so my first question is, how do you know it's a personalized email invite? That's number one. But here's what I would say to that question. Every time you go to a camp, you want to always reiterate what strengths you have, how it helps the program be successful, and then you want to learn something about what you can improve in the next time you meet them, or the next time you post something that you can show that you've learned from their program. So your question should definitely mock or model that sort of process. So what's my strength? Why does that strength help them be successful as a team or a program? And then the other question is also, what information can you get that can help evaluate you, they can use to evaluate you moving forward? So you want to ask those types of questions. We definitely have a formula in our program that really works really well, but that's kind of how you can answer those camp questions. So should I share on my social media? I got invited to a D1 camp via personalized email, 2030 outfielder. Yeah. So again, Brianna, same question. How do you know that it's a personalized invite? Here's the thing. Here's what you guys have to understand. Majority of you are not getting personalized emails. The way that personalized camp invites actually happen is between the college coach and your travel ball coach. So if they've had conversations, and from there they've said, hey, I really want to see this athlete at my camp. Those are really the only times that you really get personalized invites for camps. I just want to be clear. It might say your name. It might say welcome to our camp, but it's not always personalized just because it has your name on it. So what I would do is actually confirm by getting your travel ball coach involved. Or if you had someone like myself, I'm happy to get involved, where we ask the questions of, is this really something you want this particular athlete to come to? Or are you sending this to all of the athletes in the country and hoping that one of them signs up? So I would say, especially as a ninth grader, it's very unlikely that you're getting a personalized camp invite from an email, because technically coaches can't respond to you. The only thing they can do is send you emails, camp invites. I hope you guys know that. So if you're not at September 1st of your junior year or after, the only response a coach can give you is, hey, we can't talk to you due to NCAA rules. This is this and that, but we would love to see you at our next camp. That is a generic message. Okay. So it's not a personalized invite. So again, my question would start with, how do you know that it's personalized? And then again, that would be like where I would start that journey. So I would just double check that you know that's personalized. So I've kind of said that a few times, but I just wanted to reiterate that because I think it's very important. All right. So next question. I have a question from MZ Gutierrez 001. What questions should a 2028 athlete ask coaches September 1st and beyond? Ooh, we just did a call like this with my program, getting them ready for September 1st calls. Really actually was an intro call with a school. And here's the thing. When it comes to questions that you want to have answered or questions you want to be prepared for, I kind of gave my girls a couple categories, and I'm going to give it to you, even though I really don't want to give it to you because it's really for my program only. But here's the thing you have to understand. You have to, the best ways for you to be interesting is to be interested. Okay. And so what that really means is you want to really ask questions to them. When they have to just ask you questions and you're just giving answers, but you're not engaged and having questions back for them to then share about themselves, that's not a good conversation in most cases. So what I mean by this is, if they ask you a question, tell me a little bit about yourself, then you also want to kind of know a little bit about them, number one, and then ask them specific questions. So with my program, when we did this the other day, as a matter of fact, is we did some research on the coach, like where they've been, where they've played, things like that. We also did some research on the program in the past. We did some research on the school mission and the mission statements. We did some research on what we're looking for from a school or program, or academically what we're looking for. And so really, the whole entire point of the September 1st call is so that you can begin to gain information on, is this a good fit for you? But the only way you can gain that information is if you ask more questions than you answer. Okay, so be interested in what they're doing, which will make you interesting to them. All right, so coaches have ego. So when you care more about what they're talking about, you're going to be in a really great space. Okay, so that's my Cliff Notes version of what you need to do to prepare for September 1st calls. Luckily, my program has a whole video with a bunch of prompt questions and things like that. If you're interested in learning more about my program, let me know. All right, cool. Next question. Mia Beastie, I think is what it is, catcher. Tips on what to look for when trying out for teams. Yes, I'm going to come back to this one, okay? This will be my ending one. So Liz Beltrain, one, which I think I recruited this girl when she was in high school. Maybe she coaches now. But anyway, when should you start emailing college coaches? This is a great question. So I think in general, the rule is 9th grade. Again, back to what we said earlier about coaches being able to respond to your messages. However, if you're going to camps in your 8th grade year, it's good practice to just start practicing sending emails. So I think it's good to practice it in 8th grade, but know that it's going to be a little bit more serious in your 9th grade year. So give yourself an opportunity to learn the skill of emailing. And then from there, get more in tune with it in your 9th grade year. Remember, your email should have 5 things: your name, grad year, position, your strengths, and a way for a coach to evaluate you. Okay, bonus number 5, say something about the school, like the name of the coach, the mascot, whatever the case may be. That's a bonus, but really the individualized emails are really when you talk about yourself and a little bit more about how your strengths add value to their program. Make sense? So that's an extra tip for you, Liz Beltrain. Hopefully that was helpful. All right, let's go to the next question. Let's see if I can get it, y'all. So next question, I won't say who this is from, but my daughter was recently has chosen to step aside from pitching, but on her highlight videos that are on both Instagram and Sports Recruits, she has some clips of her pitching in it. In her bio, all about me, should she still have pitching included, like shortstop, utility, right-handed pitcher, or just take it off and allow coaches to assume she quit pitching? She says that she'll always be willing to. Okay, so here's the thing. What you have to understand, if you are going to identify as a pitcher, then coaches expect to see you pitching. Okay, so if you are not going to no longer identify as a pitcher, then you need to remove anything that has pitching from your bio for sure. I'm not asking you to take off your highlight videos, but then you need to double your other highlight videos or your skill videos or your training videos or your game videos to match what your new position is. Because remember, the bio with your name and your grad year and your position guides the coach on wanting to learn more or not. So if you have on there that you play shortstop and I go on your page and all I see you do is pitching, it is going to turn me off. If you have on there that you're a pitcher and all I see is you doing shortstop, it is going to turn a college coach away. Make sense? So your bio needs to match what it shows in your videos. This is why utility is so challenging. I don't necessarily hate when you say utility. I have my views on it. But the problem is that no one knows where to put you or even how to recruit you if you put utility, especially if you're not an elite level athlete, right? If you're really just a savvy hitter with speed, you got good base running skills, you could play literally any position and you have the demeanor, the swagger to be a utility athlete, that's completely different. But that is less than 1% of the population. Most of you guys play other positions because coaches are putting you there because you're too good for your team, or they're not sure where to put you. Either way it goes, those are both not good places to be in. So to answer the question specifically, your bio is going to guide coaches on if they continue to look at your feed or not. And then when they get to your first video, and if your first video does not match what your bio says, they will leave your page, right? So that should answer many questions for a lot of you guys around that topic. So hopefully that helps. All right. Let's see. Let's see. My question is, would you consider a high-level travel team? What would I consider to be a high? Okay, we're getting the travel teams. Let me just double check if I have any other questions outside of the travel team questions. Let's see. All right, so I have some questions. One of them being, are these things worth paying the money for? Also, I know in your videos you speak about stats. Okay. Because of the game played at bats, what I would like to ask you is what you consider baseline stats 14U. All right. So a lot of questions here that are a little bit confusing. So first and foremost, a lot of you guys are getting these messages about playing overseas. I know that you guys are because my players are getting them too. I'm going to say this. I think those are great experience and opportunities, but they're not for you to be recruited. So most times they happen in the time when it's either really major camp season or really heavy recruiting season. So either in the fall or they usually happen in the summer. Both of those seasons are very important to recruiting. So if you are not yet recruited, I would not go after those trips that are out of overseas until you have gotten to a committed state. Right? Because in the fall, remember, those are the best times for you to get to camps. And I know it sucks for those who play high school softball, but camp season is the fall season. Now, we do run that into the winter to kind of help, but really it is fall season, right? Things are happening on campus. Students are on campus. Their players are there to help them run the camp. You get to see them interact with each other. Camp season is the fall, right? And then summer is really heavy recruiting season. So you don't want to miss those because you're going on missions trips or things like that. I get it. Sometimes those are very important to your religion and your journey and things like that, but it's not the best for when you're trying to be in the recruiting process. Everything matters here. Okay. All right. The second half to this is like, what are baseline stats? Good question, because I had someone just recently post some stats from their summer, and I don't know if these are good stats, right? Like, and I just want to be clear. Your stats that you post need to match what your strength is. Okay. So I can't give everybody a baseline because your baseline is different. If you are a power hitter, I would want to know your slugging percentage. I would want to know how many at bats you had, how many of those were home runs, how many RBIs that you have, because you are a power hitter. Your job is to hit the ball hard and far, score runners. That is your job. Be a hard out. That's your job, right? And so sometimes that doesn't mean that you get a lot of doubles and singles and things like that, right? So you want to pinpoint what strengths you have that are according to you, or what stats match your strengths. So when I saw someone post earlier today their summer stats, and they said within their summer stats, like, first of all, be real. Summer, you've played at least 6 tournaments. At least. I was at Zoom into June. I was at Colorado. I was at Kansas. I was at Atlanta. I was at PGF. I was at 5. And in all of those tournaments, there were at least 5 games that you played. Okay. So 5 times 5 is 25, right? 25 games. And if you say that if you are a key person in the lineup, you batted at least 3 times, that's at least 75 at bats. Y'all, this is my math going real fast. So if you are a move a runner, score a runner type of person, a doubles and triples hitter, and you put on your stats that you had 6 doubles and you had 11 RBIs out of 75 at bats, I don't know my math that well. I can't give you the percentages and stuff, but this is why, like, sometimes your stats can get you in trouble, because you might assume that these are good stats to post. But if we did the math of how many games you played, how many at bats you had, that's not a really good number. Makes sense? So it all goes back to your strengths and on all those types of things. So just keep that in mind. So what is your strength? And then that's how you determine what you use as your baseline. Hopefully that helps you understand this process a little bit more. All right, so let's get into travel teams. So last week, my program, we had our group call, and we focused heavily on which teams we should be going after for the next season, and like, what travel teams are we looking for? Why are we looking for them? How do we find them? So here's the process I took them through. First and foremost, when it comes to travel teams, you need to be able to evaluate your current team. All right. Some of you guys are looking for better teams, and sometimes you don't need to be looking for better teams. Sometimes the team that you are on is the right team. You just need to get over your feelings and learn how to work harder. Okay. Sometimes that's the case, not always, but just know sometimes we have to evaluate our team first to determine if they're actually the good fit. So what are their connections? Are you playing on the best fields? Are you in the game? And if you're not in the game, why are you not in the game? Is it because you don't put in as much work? Is it because you're inconsistent, unreliable? They can't trust you? The truth of the matter is that's going to happen in college too. You could get to those places and be on those teams, but if you don't have a team where you're constantly fighting to be on the field of the best, you're not building the muscle that you need when you get to college, okay? College rosters have 25 people minimum sometimes. Not a lot, but minimum and maximum. It depends on the school, right? At least 20. So if that's the case, there are only 9 spots on the field and 10 if you want to have an extra batter, right? Or a flex and a batter. So understand that competition is going to be in your life for the rest of your life as long as you play this game and even when you get out of this game. So if the situation is you're in the right space, you're doing the right, they go to the right tournaments, you're getting the coaches in front of you, you're having these events where you're developing, you have someone that's helping with recruiting or at least guiding you a little bit, but you're not playing, I just have questions. Unless you're a pitcher, then maybe the question is more about your skill and your development and your consistency more than it is, I need to change teams, okay? The second thing I want to say about travel ball teams, because evaluating yourself is really important. The second thing I want to say in general is, if you are looking to join a team, just a couple of red flags that I've found over this past weekend is if you join a travel ball team and the head coach has a pitcher on the team or shortstop on the team, I always get a little bit weary about that. Okay. I hate to say it. Okay. Or they lead off batter. Okay. And I hate to laugh at this, but it's so funny to see because here's the thing. In most cases, they probably started this team because their daughter was probably in your situation, not getting as much playing time, and then decided, okay, let's go start our own team. So we definitely want to be aware of that when we're going out to tryouts, okay? So evaluating your team is number 1. Number 2, the second half is how do you actually find those teams? Okay, so when I say high-level teams, I am talking about teams that have a reputation of sending athletes to the next level. Not the organization. That's where people get stuck. The organization could be great, but if they don't supply the support for the team directly, that also gets a little bit hard. So especially my younger athletes, you kind of get stuck into this because more times than not, they've branched off and built a 12U team or a 14U team. And that coach hasn't yet built up a reputation to maybe get connected with college coaches. But that's where you have to understand and ask more questions around how is the org involved in helping that particular team and that coach reach out to coaches. That's really important. So you have to ask that type of question. Are we an affiliate of the organization or are we just using the name? Okay, that's a question you want to ask. Another question you want to ask is, do we all come together and develop at any point in time? Or do we just all do our own thing, show up at tournaments and that's it? Sometimes that's a good thing, but it has to be a team that has elite level athletes, which majority teams don't, right? So do we at least have org workouts where we can get better? Does the org bring in coaches to do their own workouts with coaches? That's another thing you might want to ask. I would say those are a couple things you want to ask, but how do you find them? I do a whole deep dive on travel teams before I tell my players which ones I think are the best. And you want to know where it starts? The website. So if you are looking at teams, I want you to go to their website. On their websites, they should have an alumni section or previously committed section. What you want to look for is the type of, or first of all, do they have a website? Number 2, is the website updated and functioning? Because that's really important, right? Number 3, do they have an updated list of who has committed to schools? And then what types of schools have they committed their athletes to? So you will learn fast if you see a bunch of D2s, lower level, really D2s, D3s, community colleges, then that will tell you that maybe they're not in the right places at the right times for the right teams or the right coaches that are on your list to be recruited. So you need to be able to find that. Second, what you want to do though, is because they list those players doesn't mean that your specific team is the one that's getting those girls recruited. So we actually did an example in our call the other day when we looked at the Athletics Mercado team, one of them, website. And what we did was we looked at, thankfully they had like who the young lady who got committed, what team they played for in the org. So it was like Richardson or something. And so Richardson is doing a great job of getting girls committed, because I mean, that whole list was his name, right? So then I would go and I look at his roster. I would see, okay, cool, who's committed, who's not committed. And then on top of that, I go to their social media. Okay. When I get to their social media, now what I'm looking for is, what are they showcasing or posting on their social media? Are they resharing their players? Are they sharing their committed athletes that are that are getting committed? Are they showcasing the athletes working on their own, right? At their visits, at camps, things like that. Like, are they having a presence where it's showcasing that they are moving athletes into the right space? Second, what I would do, this is a little creepy, but this is what you got to do. I would go to their followers. And when I go to their followers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to see what current college coaches are following their page. So if I always get a red flag when I see a new team and I see like they got like 500 followers, and things like that. And I don't see them posting their players. And I see that there's no college coaches following them. I see a lot of players and travel ball coaches following them, but I don't see college coaches following them. So I just literally gave you the game on how you find the right high level travel team. That is exactly what you need to be doing. Okay. So you got to get all up in the business, and then you got to ask the questions. Is this a team that we just bought the name, or are we actually a part of the organization? Do we get the resources that the organization gets as well? Things like that. So I just gave y'all the game. I hope you guys wrote that down. If not, you need to go back and rewatch this, because listen, that is the game on travel teams. Okay. Here's the other thing I want to say about this. I would ask what some of the team rules are too, because I think it's always important to know what the team rules are. And I'm going to say this: no team owns you. Okay, so no team owns you. They might have some rules around you playing with other teams, but it should never be a rule where it's like, if you do that, you're kicked off the team. Like, right? Like, number one, if you're not going to the tournaments I need to go to and you're still trying to have that rule, you need to get off that team immediately. Okay, let me give you one more piece to this. Okay. Just because your coach played at this school or that school, or their daughter played at this school or that school, UCLA, Texas, or they were an All-American back in their day, or they were an All-American in their recent times, just because they have the connections, like as far as like playing at one of those schools, their daughters went to one of those schools, or they were an All-American, all the things, just because they have those things doesn't mean they're good coaches. I might step on some people's toes on that one, but let me say it again. Just because your coach was an All-American at their college, just because their daughters went to UCLA in Texas, just because they've helped other girls get to those schools, it doesn't always mean they're a good coach. So you need to do your due diligence in actually going to a tryout and working out with that coach and seeing how they run their tryouts, right? Somebody asked me about private versus public tryouts. It is tryout season. You don't need to ask for a private tryout unless, you missed it because you're at another tryout, right? But I think you need to go to the tryout when there are multiple people there, so you can see how they organize having multiple people at the tryout. So you can see how they organize moving people around, how the coaches work together in moving the team and the players around. You need to be in that experience so you know what it's going to be like when you play on that team. So all of you who are trying to be shy or secretive about trying out for teams, it's not the move, sis. Okay. It's not the move. You need to go to the big one so you can actually get a feel for who is all going to be on the team. Because if they're having private tryouts with you, they're having private tryouts with other people. And again, you don't know who's going to be on your team when you show up for practice or games. And they might be good in some instances, but they ain't good in other instances. Okay. So keeping it real with y'all. Tryouts are challenging, right? This season is challenging, but always remember that you are going to have to find the fit for you. You don't need to be loyal to anybody. There is no college coach that's going to be like, dang, she's been on 5 different travel teams since I've known her. Not really, right? Unless you're leaving good teams continuously for whatever reason, then I have some questions. But no one's going to be like, oh, I can't recruit her because she was on this team last year, this next team this year, right? So keep that in mind as you go. All right, let me see if I covered all the questions. I think that was all of them, but let me just double check. Yeah, what to look for in travel teams. Yeah. So with that, we are right at our 31. I had some internet issues, so we went over a little bit, but we're right at our 30 minutes, y'all. I appreciate you guys for always jumping on. and for working through this journey with me. Remember always, like, no one owns you. And I would say this about travel teams, one final thing. There is a difference between being tough and handling hard situations and then being mentally, verbally, or physically, not physically, I don't want to say that, abused. Okay. So like if there's a situation where it's a mental health thing and it's something that you need to, yes, I'll tell you that in a second. And there's something that you need to be considerate of when it comes to, all right, my mental well-being, that is always your priority. Okay. Like take care of yourself. Remember, and here's the thing I always tell people, right? At the end of the day, you are unique, valuable enough, and God created you. He called you and he chose you. Sometimes you're in situations with travel teams where they're never going to see your value. And if that's the case, you're busting your butt, you're working hard, you're putting in the work, you're doing everything you can, you're asking why you're not playing in the games, and they're giving you BS answers and telling you that I got you, that I'm going to keep working, just keep working, I'm going to get you in the game. Remember, time is super valuable and they don't own you, and you don't have to be loyal to anybody that's not going to value what you bring to the table. Okay. So with that, just remember that your mental health is number one, and that finding a place that values you is really, really important. And that's number two. Okay. Recruiting is all about you showcasing your skill, not your value and your strength. And that also doesn't change because you're trying out for travel ball teams. All right. Remember, out of 8 billion people in the world, there's only one of you, which makes you unique, valuable, and enough, just as you are. I really appreciate you guys for jumping in. The playback will be on my stories or on my page, my feed, for at least a week. The one from last week is still on there, but I'm gonna take it off soon and put it into my YouTube channel. So after a week, it goes away, goes to my YouTube channel. I already answered the considered high level question, so you definitely have to go back and check that out. And I kind of gave people some insight onto how to find them. So make sure you go back and watch the playback for sure for this. But also, last call, 2031s. We have our first call on Sunday. I have about 3 or 4 spots left for 2031 athletes that want to go through my program. We are working at a tryout period for 2031s. So I will have a couple questions in the DMs for you. If you DM me 2031, I will answer those questions. I'll get you on a phone call with me between now and Friday. We'll get you guys set up, going in the program, and then you have 6 months to get a foundational setup for your recruiting journey, your social media, your mindset, all the things. You will get yourself a good foundation, and then from there, we decide if we want to invite you into our main program, or if we feel like you need more support or more help or more reps or more work. We'll tell you that, we'll assess for you, and then we'll go from there. But then once you get into our program, we're all gas, no brakes on helping you along your journey to develop yourself, your mental self, your identity, your confidence, your skills, and your strengths. So with that, if you're interested in 2031s, I got 3 more spots. 2030s, I got a few more spots as well. Everybody else, we're about done. So you got to be elite of the elite, and you got to be willing to take action sooner than later. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. If you're PGF Nationals or Lions, have a great time. Ball out. Remember who you are. Remember whose you are, and enjoy. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.